Got a question for you guys. Why? Why do you sell on eBay? Forget the other sites. Let's just talk about eBay. Why do you sell on eBay? So I want to talk to you about that more on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. So why do you sell on eBay? And let's forget about all the other platforms for a second. We're just talking about eBay because that seems to be where the most of the discussion is coming from on all these channels, including my own. Rarely do you hear a lot of channels talking about slow or great sales on Mercari, Poshmark, Depop. But let's talk about eBay. Why do you sell there? Now, in my opinion, and this is just how I see things, you can agree or disagree, comment down below. There's three different groups, and it's really up to you to determine, if you're being honest with yourself, where do you fall? The first group are sellers who already have income, they can pay their bills, maybe they have a retirement and they just do this for extra money. Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's something that you enjoy and you do something fun with the money. At the end of the year, maybe you go Christmas shopping with the money, or you just take your family on a vacation. That's the first group. And by the way, whether or not sales are good or not doesn't really impact them that much. It just, they go with the flow. The second group are sellers who rely on the income that eBay provides, and they have found that their sales used to be okay and it's not so much anymore. And that particular group, they sell things that had demand, and they tend not to pivot to other things, and they a lot of times will not even see that as being the problem. They'll see other things as being the issue, such as eBay or inability to find other things, even though they're probably walking by things that they can easily sell at flea markets and yard sales. But that's kind of beside the point. They're looking for ways to explain why they're not making sales, and that's not saying all of them, but many of them do. If you're in that camp where your sales aren't so hot and you're just kind of doing your best and you're not complaining, well, you're still in that group, but you don't happen to have those tendencies. And the last group are the sellers who have made this thing work, have maybe been in group 2, like myself, and have found a way to graduate to the third group, been through highs and lows, and some haven't even been through any lows. They just are killing it. They kill it each and every year, and they are focused. They see the green stuff hitting their account every week, and that's all that matters to them. They see the success, and they're not caught up in all the noise, right? And it's hard to make excuses for yourself when you're doing great. Generally, I don't even remember in my lifetime even thinking about making an excuse about anything that may have gone wrong if it went right. I mean, that just makes sense, right? And I think we need to avoid the noise. There's a lot of noise when you turn on YouTube these days. And I think a lot of the noise is coming from the folks in group 2. And the group 2 folks want to pinpoint exactly, and they want to know exactly how eBay is hurting their bottom line, how eBay is throttling their sales, how eBay is making them the victim. This victim mentality is very contagious. It's that old saying, misery loves company. And miserable company looks for miserable company on a lot of these channels. Now, I have, and I'm not going to say that I have not been critical of eBay, but I'm just giving you an honest assessment in my videos. The goal is not to make excuses for myself by pointing at eBay. Whenever I bring up an issue or a topic that I see going wrong with eBay, it is to pinpoint what obstacles we have to deal with as sellers. And it's hard to avoid an obstacle if you don't know it's there. So by continually making others aware and being aware myself. I make content for that very reason. Now, the 2022 me was in group 2. I'll admit that. But I also will admit, and if you go back and look at my videos, the number one reason why I was stuck in group 2 was because of my sourcing. And at the time, I just didn't have an answer. I have more answers in 2023 than I have in 2022, which is why I've made way more money in 2023 than I did in 2022. Had I just continued to look for ways to excuse my slow sales other than blaming it on myself, I'd still be in group 2. But guess what? I changed. I took a proactive choice to change my destiny, a proactive choice to change what I was doing with this broken eBay software. And I decided back in February that I'm going to do something drastically different. Yes, I'm still selling everything, but the everything that I'm selling has better sell-through rate and by intention higher ASP. And that's not to say you cannot sell low ASP items on eBay. It's to say you need to make sure that that low ASP item has a high sell-through rate. And for me, because now I'm in group 3, and I think that's ultimately where you want to strive to be, where you're making money on the platform, you are satisfied and able to take care of whatever expenses you're trying to pay with selling on eBay, that you see the results and you're very willing to pivot in just like the way I pivoted back in February, so that when your current success starts to dry up, you are then searching for ways to find that success again. And many people will say, well, you know, you make it sound easier than it is. eBay is a broken mess. And while it is a broken mess, and eBay is even admitting to, recently admitting that the search is a broken mess without them saying it exactly like that. But eBay will not spend money and tell their PR team to tell the masses that we are working on something unless they have acknowledged, which they did, that their search is a broken mess. And through all that, you know, whether or not you promote listings, maybe you don't promote, maybe you are just refusing to play the game, you're stepping over that dollar to pick up a quarter. I gotta say it, that's what a lot of people are doing. Out of sheer principle, you will allow your business to suffer because you don't want to, well, people will say fall in line, right? Like a good little boy or girl. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. But if we put our feelings aside, the goal is to make money and have that money transferred into our bank at the end of every week. And it shouldn't matter how you get there. You know, a user commented that, you know, it's like eBay is making us sit in the back of the bus. I mean, that's what they said, not me. And my response to that was, what does it matter where you sit on that bus as long as you get to your destination? So you may not enjoy the journey. You may not enjoy the fact that you are now paying an additional 5% in fees, whereas you weren't before even using promoted listings. But when you find out that many of the items, provided they have demand, and you could promote all day long, and if your prices are A, too high, or B, have not enough demand, you're not going to do very well anyway. But had they found out that all they had to do was promote those items that had demand, high competition, and that way they're ahead of the competition and now are getting sales, I'm sure a lot of people would rethink their thoughts on just not using promoted listings out of principle. And I'm not a shill for eBay. Trust me, I've been very critical on this channel about eBay and from anywhere from their customer service to their issues upon issues and being out of touch with the sellers. That hasn't changed. I am hopeful that now that they are admitting that there is an issue with search and they are going to fix sometime in early 2024, Who knows when that is? Could be January, could be April for all we know. At least we know that they know that there's an issue. Whereas before, with many issues, they have chosen to take a quiet stance on the issue. So whether you're in group one, I think group one is the coolest place to be because you don't have to worry about these things. It's like, water off of a duck's back. You know what? I'm going to list what I want. I'm going to sell what I want. I'm going to get whatever results are handed to me. And guess what? I don't have to worry about paying any of my bills. This is just fun money. That is the coolest place to be if you're in that position, if I'm just being 100% honest with you. Group three is if you're doing this as a serious seller, as a serious business, and you rely on this money, you really want to not only get to group three, but you want to stay and maintain that group three status. And if you're in group two, that's a miserable place to be. It's very frustrating. And even if you're not one of the whiners that are in group two, that are looking for every excuse other than, maybe you walk fast when you're walking by your mirror because you just don't want to look in it. You want to look everywhere else. You look outside the window before you look in the mirror. You're looking for reasons and excuses, okay? Some of these people even start their videos off with an excuse as to why their time's all tied up and not selling on eBay. And then we listen to these people and we go, wow, they're such a genius. But if you look at their stores, and you all know who I'm talking about, those of you who create content, look at your stores, because I have, and guess what? It's not that impressive. If you have 3,000, 4,000 plus items listed in your store and you're selling 300 items in a 90-day period, 100 items in a month, 3 items a day, it's not eBay doing it. When there's other people like myself, there's Tommy Bernard, there's Bearded Picker, there's Josh Galt. We're making sales, guys. We're making money. eBay's the obstacle, but they're not the problem. And in many cases, because I've been there, we are our own problem. And sometimes it is our circumstances that are in our way and we can't control that. And that's why you're in group two. And I'm not disparaging people. I'm not. Because in many cases, unless there's circumstances that you cannot control, that's why you're in group two. In most cases, you are your own worst enemy. And by being inflexible and being like I was in 2022, hard-headed, well, that's going to keep you in group two until you figure it out. But pointing your fingers at eBay, pointing your fingers at other outside influences that you have no control over, and instead, ignoring what things you can control, well, plan for a long time in group two. And maybe you should go find those channels because, as I said, it's a miserable place to be, and misery loves company. So my advice to anyone out there, if you're serious about reselling on eBay, follow those people who are making money. If you're this advice I was given out in 2022 meant you just would unsubscribe from my channel, but I've figured it out. And find people, and I think this is kind of something that's said quite often. Find and gravitate towards people, and you will become a lot like those people as far as success is concerned. You find your way around people who like to complain and whine and bellyache about things they can't control. Well, you start thinking a lot like that. And I choose to be positive in 2024. Will eBay be better in 2024? I have no idea. I am planning for it not to be, but I am hopeful that it will be. And in planning for it not to be, I know one thing. I'm going to be better prepared when things go wrong, and I'm going to be better able to pivot when the market for some of the items that I'm currently selling go south. And you always got to be mindful of that and stop falling in love with the stuff that you're selling. And this is harder for people who sell in a niche than those who sell everything across the board like I do. I get it. But, no one's telling you to get rid of all your LPs, even though I've got a stack. See that stack right there? See that? Right there, right there. I don't know if you can see it now. See if I can show it to you. Oops. See that stack right there? Well, that's about 150 LPs that I'm going to have to figure out what to do with because I'm clearing out my secondary store. And group 1, the casual seller, would just list them individually and say if they sell, they sell. When they sell, they sell, and I'm good with it. Group 2, well, you're going to say, hey, I love these albums. They sold 5 years ago, and by golly, they're going to sell in 2024. Okay. And then group 3 is going to be like, look, either I'm going to lock these things up or I'm going to give them away, donate them, whatever, but I'm not going to tie up my store with low sell-through items, regardless of the price. What group are you in? And you guys already know my answer. I'm going to be locking these things up, and if they don't go after a 1-week auction, I'm going to donate them. And there's or put them in a little box. I'm going to have a yard sale here very soon, and someone wants to, from group 1 and group 2, come around and buy them for 50 cents a piece. Hey, I got my money back. So again, want to know what you think? Your comments down below. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And if you hate me, hit the thumbs down, guys. Hate, hate, hate. Hate is fun, isn't it? You know, when you don't have the answers, it's easy to point at things and hate people. And this community doesn't need that. And that's not what this channel stands for. I can't stand the fact that there's people out there that are trying to bring in the masses to their line of thinking when it's not helpful. It isn't, because eBay, if you're in group 2, eBay ain't going to change their plans because you're pissed off and you've been selling for 20 plus years on the platform. Their mindset is either get with the program or get off and go sell on the other sites. Nothing wrong with selling on the other sites. You're not going to get nowhere near the sales, but have fun with that. So it's up to each of us to decide honestly where we currently stand and where we want to be. Group 1, great place to be. Group 2, not so much. And group 3, very ideal. So guys, figuring all this out, where do you stand in the whole scheme of things is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And have a great rest of your week. Check out the live on Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a great rest of your day, guys.